Welcome back, awesome action toy fans and subscribers. One of my favourite toy lines, but you've got so many favourite toy lines. I know. This is Archecore. It's not 1/18 scale, it's 1/35 scale, and don't think it's 1/35 scale because it says on that. That's just it's the 35th release from. I'm telling you a lie. That is 1/35 scale there, but here it says 35. That means it's the 35th release of this toy line. I don't have them all. I have most of them. Some I didn't want to buy. This you can see is the Desert Rangers. There is a vehicle that looks like a skeleton lizard walker, which I didn't order. But if I like these, I might get it as well. It just didn't really appeal to me. I do like the Archecore stuff. I am not keen, though, on the big mech transforming truck robot and the wolf things. I mean, they look great individually if they were just that. But when you transform it comes transforming, you just lose a lot of functionality from the truck mode or from the robot mode. I'd rather have just the robot or just the truck. Anyway, I'm blabbling on. Let's have a quick look. They look taller than the standard figures. I think that's because they're thinner. They're not sort of heavily bulky, bulked or armoured. You can see the joints a little bit, but figure the board on this scale. If you've not seen Archecore before, they have got fantastic articulation for such small figures. Not only that, most of the weapons are compatible with 1/18 scale as well. Very, very highly engineered figures. On the back, it's got whatever about them in Japanese, I'm going to guess. And it shows you the contents. You get the 3 figures, spear, axe, and 2 swords and 3 bases. And that's that sort of vehicle there. You can see it in the background. I'm sort of tempted. I'll have a look. Okay, I am going to unbox to set this up. And I'll be back in an instant. Stay tuned. And here they are. First impressions, these are fantastic. I mean, I really like the Archecore stuff anyway, but these are probably my favourite figure releases, these unarmoured versions. I think they just got so much playability and value for dioramas and whatnot. Now, the issue really is the scale. There's not many things that are in 1/35 scale, so finding compatible stuff might be a bit of a problem. They're smaller than your Acid Rain B25. They're smaller than your Mission Fleet Star Wars, bigger than Mega Blocks, you know, so it's that sort of in between scale. They do look really great. So let's get in fact, before we look at accessories, one thing I don't like is it's one of those boxes that you have to rip open. So what I've done is I sliced the plastic here and here, so I made a flap I could open, and I slid out the little tray, and I can slide the tray back in and close that later, so I can keep it like this again. I've actually got 2 sets of this particular release. I think they look really good. Okay, before we go to accessories again, please consider joining the Patreon. Link in the top right of the screen now. See all the reviews before they're published on YouTube. Also exclusive content from time to time, and there are prize draws too. We had one just recently as well. Okay, so accessories, other than what they come with, you get 3 bases, 1 for each. Okay, now not pick up, there you go. 1 for each figure, very simple base, the plug, and then Toys Alliance underneath. You also get a extra neck peg, and this neck peg is great because this, if you look at instructions, you get instructions, shows that it can be used to swap heads with an armored figure, which is pretty cool. So you get more variety in your armored figures. Then other accessories is, as we saw on the back of the box, 2 swords, the spear, and an axe. Okay, let's look at the 3 figures. They're not named as far as I know, just Desert Rangers. I'll zoom out a little bit for this. So figure 1, I've got him with the axe here. Needing more paint apps, a little wash and some eyes to make that pop. Looks great. Got the little gap in the back to put the axe or a sword, or 2 swords can fit in there according to instructions, but he does look pretty cool. Figure 2, that's the first woman, first female release in Archecore. She looks great. Now the thing about these is I reckon their articulation will not be as good as the heavy armoured figures, because the heavy armoured figures got parts that are hidden by their bulk. These ones haven't got that bulk or whatever to hide the articulation parts like we've got. So these have got single kneecap. The armoured ones got double kneecap. They've got hips that go really far on the armoured ones. These ones don't. She doesn't have anything on the back to actually hold something, but she does look pretty damn cool. She holds that spear really, really well, I have to say. Very cool. And then the last guy, again in the swords, he's holding one sword we can see here, and the other sword we can see in the back again. Very, very nice. I should have bought 3 sets of these now. I think these are just fantastic looking figures. I said the weapons with Archecore are 1AT compatible. They are, but these ones are like much smaller. So these swords would be knives, and that axe would be, I don't know what that axe would be. The spear would be tiny too. So these ones aren't so much compatible with 118 as opposed to the guns that we've seen previously. Very nice indeed. Okay, so what we'll do now is I'll look at articulation. Let's move this camera a little bit and see what that's like. I'll do... It'd be basically the same. In fact, it'd be slightly different. I'll do all 3, but not everything on all 3. Well, everything on 1 or 2, but not everything on all 3 of them. Okay, so start with this guy first. He's got pauldrons, which are going to limit his articulation far more than the armoured ones, which is kind of ironic. So head, there's a left, there is a right. He's got a really good side to side, and he's got a nice forwards backwards. Arms all the way around. He says a bit popping out of joint, which is not a problem. It's quite a big pin. But to the side, you're only going to get about 90. Bicep bend, you're getting about 90 again, so that's fine. And the wrist just turn. I should turn. Well, the wrist on the woman turn, so the wrist on him should turn. That feels like it doesn't want to turn, so I want to be careful on that. I'm hoping I'm wrong. You can turn from the bicep. That wrist should really turn. Don't break, please, don't break. I'm not feeling like there's much of a turn there, so I don't want to risk that. Trunk, just a simple ball joint from the waist, so he's got a decent forwards backwards, small side to side, he can turn. Hips, not that far, that's partly due to the sculpting on these belt section. Forwards, not great because the belt section. Backwards is a lot better, but much more than that, and his hip's going to pop out. But again, that's also the belt section part getting in the way, so that's pretty good in the backwards. You can twist from the thigh, single knee bend, but it does get over 90 degrees. And then the feet is going to be another worrying point. Oh, he has got a boot turn, tiny tippy toe, tiny dorsiflexation, and he does get a small in and out. So remarkably worse than the bulky ones, but not worse as in bad articulation, just not as good as the bulky figures. We'll compare that in a little while. Let's put the axe back over there too. So look at her articulation. Hers will be different for the hips. Shoulders should be the same. Head should be the same. So hips, she's going slightly further, but again the sculpting on those sort of pouches get in the way. Forwards is far superior. She's getting like flat over flat. Backwards is about the same, so but a much better range in motion there at all. And the knees should be pretty much the same, slightly over 90 degrees, and the feet the same. Okay, then the last guy we show, because his shoulders don't have a pauldron, so he should get a much better lateral range of motion. Hit, so look at that, he goes over 90 quite happily. So very, very cool. The rest should be pretty much the same. Okay, so now what I'll do, if you can listen to talking in the background, because my wife's on a phone call to her brother. So forgive that if you can hear that. And yeah, she's in another room with the door closed, but the mic's quite good usually on this camera. Okay, so let's do a size. Not seen these before. Get an idea of how big they are. I'm loving these figures. And you see that they are 5.5, between 5.5 and 6 cm. She is around about 5.5. The guys are slightly bigger. Now, if I compare them, let me go zoom a bit more in again, to one of the armoured figures. Is it Mithril Knight? Paladin? I forget. Spear one? I forget what he's called now, but I'll put a link in the top right to this guy here. He's the armoured version. His articulation is far superior in pretty much every way. He's bulky and, you know, you can see that there. They looked bigger in the box because they were skinny, but when you see him side to side, he just looks like a massive brute in comparison. He's far more, and he can be far more engineered because his bulk can hide some of the stuff So as I was talking about, you can see that his hips actually are really skinny. If you look from the back here, tiny. Just that is hidden by the big chunk in the legs. So his difference is that he can really get to like a, even that bulk, he gets to almost a full splits on the sideways and on the forwards backwards, you know. He's got double kneecaps despite his bulk, though he can't get quite as tight because his bulk does get in the way. But, you know, very well tiny engineered figures. And his shoulders are far superior as well. His shoulders go way over the, quite as stiff as anything, try the other one, way over the flat. If you get the pauldron lined up rightly. You can actually take the pauldrons off if you want, but there we go. So these are far better engineered than there are, or rather far better articulation, I wouldn't say better engineered, than these new Desert Ranger counterparts. So you want to get an idea how these scale with other lines, quite difficult. If I use the Annex 20 line, the Ignis, whatever they're called, just got a custom head on now. You see, they just look tiny, and this is a small figure. You know, if I use a Dime Nova Legends Cowboy, you see how they scale to 118. Yeah, they are tiny. There are advantages to small figures. Dioramas can be same size as 118 scale, but bigger in scale for your 135 figures. Cheaper to make. More difficult to do, perhaps, because details are smaller. These are great, great looking figures. I do like this a lot. I would put these high on my recommended list. If you haven't got any Archecore first, or yet rather, maybe start with these first to get an idea if you like them, or then get an armoured set and you can decide you want to get vehicles from there and whatnot. Great set. I like this a lot. On my recommended list. Okay, so awesome. That's always signing out, saying please like, share, subscribe, check out the Patreon. I'll see you next video soon. Stay happy, keep collecting. Bye bye.